When we first watched Jamie get reunited with his daughter, we have to admit there was a tear wiping involved. That and when everyone said goodbye to Ian, hey, at this rate, we're going to reveal the entire video. We're gonna stop and start the video, so without any further ado, here are the Outlander best moments. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Number 10. Brianna and Roger get married. Was the wedding cool? It sure was. I mean, these two have been through so much together that it was nice seeing them tie the knot. But that's not the best part about the wedding. The best part about the wedding was when Jamie was preparing his daughter for the wedding. When he gave her Claire's pearl necklace, when he gave her something blue for the wedding, and when he walked her down the aisle. Okay, just thinking about this scene makes our eyes watery.
Let us therefore reverently remember that God has established and sanctified marriage.
Number 9. Roger comes home to Brianna. And yes, before the major wedding scene in the first episode of Season 5, we have to take a moment and appreciate the final scene of Season 4 when Roger finally came back home to Brianna. After being apart for almost a year and both being tortured during that time, it was really nice to see them back together. One of them is raped and has a baby, and the other one is beaten and traded to the Mohawk by his father-in-law. And you thought your in-laws were bad. Number 8. The Island Rescue. Before we talk about how Jamie rescued Claire, don't forget to smash that like button. It keeps the almighty YouTube algorithm happy and you keep getting these videos for free. Hey, those Englishmen sure caused a lot of trouble in this series, and just one of the many times they were painted as horrible was when they kidnapped Claire and wanted to trade her. But she surprised them and jumped ship, literally. The waters washed her up on the shore of a deserted island. After learning to deal with the harsh environment, Claire saw a ship in the distance. Immediately she ran to the shore and shone one of her mirrors towards the ship. Jamie took out his spyglass to see who it was, and yes, the ship changed direction. Finally, they ran to each other as the small waves crashed below their feet. Now that's romantic. Number 7. Randall's death. If you're an a-hole and you know it, clap your hands. And you have Jack Randall and Hitler clapping their hands bloody in the back of the room. Anyways, we have to admit that we grinned from ear to ear when we saw this monster of a man get stabbed by Jamie at the Battle of Culloden. It was the Battle of the Giants, Jamie on one side and Randall on the other. And you could just see Jamie taking pleasure in killing the man that caused so much pain and suffering in his life, especially when he was mistreating Claire. A quick poke in the kidneys with a knife is all it took to end the life of a domineering character that just wanted people around him to suffer. But he was still a great fighter, which is why Jamie almost died. Number 6. Time travel. For those of us who read the book, we knew that this one scene was inevitably coming. Still, we wanted to see how the show was going to make Claire fall through time, and we have to say they did a phenomenal job with this scene. First of all, Claire touched the time stone, and then the scene cut to a sequence where she describes seeing time stand still, and seconds being turned into minutes when she almost died in a car accident. Then she likened the experience to having to travel through time itself. And finally, after wandering around in the fields trying to figure out what had happened, she realizes that she has fallen through time. As soldiers with old guns fire a few shots in the distance, the perfect time travel intro. Number 5. The father-daughter reunion. Separated for 200 years, Jamie and his daughter Brianna finally meet, and the reunion was brought to you by our sponsor, the Time Stones. Yes, using the Time Stones, Brianna finally got to meet her daddy when she asked one of the people on the streets if he had seen a tall red man walking by. And sure enough, there he was, just as proud and as glorious. Oh, who are we kidding? He was peeing up against a wall when Brianna met him. And the scene didn't get any better when Jamie thought his long-lost daughter was just looking for a good time, wink wink. But in just a few seconds, she told him who she was, and when he said, "You're my babe," to Brianna, tears were rolling down her cheeks like waterfalls.
It's my babe. Never expected.
Number 4. Saying goodbye to Ian. Jamie promised BRIANNA that he would bring Roger back to her, but the Mohawks aren't dumb. They're not just going to let them have it, even if Jamie and Claire were going through hell trying to find him. They wanted a trade. So when no one else would go, Ian volunteered to be taken so he could honor his word. And obviously, Jamie couldn't say no to this decision. Finally, we got to see both Claire and Jamie say goodbye to Ian with tears in their eyes. The ones from Jamie hit deep.
Oh, Ian.
Number 3. Jamie and Claire get wed. Well, you pretty much knew the scene was coming. It was bound to happen, since Claire and Jamie fell madly in love with each other, and to think that hardship and troubles would only separate the couple, in their case, it brought them closer together. She finally found the man she loved, and we like to say that this is a true testament that true love has no bounds, even if that means going 200 years back in time to find your soulmate. In a beautiful ceremony, Jamie and Claire said their vows and got married. Now, we don't know if it was the beautiful dress or the atmosphere they were in, but that was one long-ass kiss. And you know what? We even liked that weird ritualistic part with the vein cutting, although we sure are glad that this tradition is long forgotten in the past.
You may kiss your bride.
Number 2. Claire stands up to Jamie. Now, even though they're one of the cutest couples around, Claire and Jamie have their fair share of arguments, and this one was our absolute favorite. Coming from the future, Claire wasn't going to put up with Jamie's 18th century beliefs about men and women, and even though he saved her from the English, he still gave her a lesson she didn't need to hear. After all the rambling, Claire finally had enough when Jamie said that she should listen to her husband and do what he says, because she is his property. Not being the one to stand down to bullies and oppressors, she fiercely fought back and told him that she's not something that he can own, she's a human being separate from him, and that neither he nor anyone else can tell her what she can do. And just as Jamie was getting angrier and angrier, while his friends watched them argue, we raised our hands in the air and screamed, "Preach, sister!" at the top of our lungs.
You think, to punish you, I went for a walk in the woods on the chance that some British soldiers...
Number 1. The reunion 20 years later. Well, to be honest, when Jamie fainted in this scene, we felt like doing the same thing. Honestly, the writers shouldn't have separated them for 20 freaking years. After finding out that Jamie didn't die in the battle, she managed to find him and walked inside his house. She called Jamie from the balcony as he was working in his office. Jamie thought he began hallucinating and fell on the floor unconscious. Then Claire ran towards him and tried to wake him up. When he finally regained consciousness, he saw that his Claire was real and she was right there beside him, and that passionate kiss told us that things were just the way we left them, even though 20 years had passed.
I would very much like to kiss you. May I?
On a related note, what was your absolute favorite moment from the show? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.